Hello and welcome to my weekly book review, and today I want to talk to you about Hunger on the Chisholm Trail by M Ennenbach. This is volume 2 in Death's Head Press's Splatter Western series. This particular copy is one of the signed hardcover editions that was in conjunction with Thunderstorm Books, but more on the production details in a little bit. I don't know that I've ever read any Splatter Westerns before. I know I've definitely never read any from the Splatter Western line, but I mean, there are other Splatter Westerns outside of that line. I imagine there might be some Joe Lansdale might fall under that. He's written some Westerns that probably have some blood and gore. But I don't know that I've read any of them. And, well, I think I'm definitely going to read some more after this. In short, if you're a fan of splatterpunk, which is a subgenre that is all the meaty details of people just getting absolutely butchered, and you're thinking, man, I want to read that in 19th century Chisholm Trail, Wild West settings, then this is the book for you. Hunger on the Chisholm Trail, in short, is a creature feature where you're going to have your regular people up going against whether it's a shark in Jaws, whether it's the alligator in Alligator, whether it's the kangaroo in The Roo. In this case, they're going up against the Wendigo. Yes, that same Wendigo from like Appalachian and Canadian folklore, Native American, Native Canadian folklore, has found himself down on the Chisholm Trail, and he is tormenting some cattle herders, cattle farmers. And he's going to bring that terror to the small town of Duncan, which, yeah, I don't want to say it's nonstop chaos, because there are chapters in Duncan prior to the Wendigo arriving that are a bit slower. Those are the chapters you get the character development, and that is something that's not necessarily needed in a novel like this. I appreciate it being in the novel, but it's a very short novella. I mean, I don't even know if I can call it novel length. I mean, it's under 200 pages. And we're talking small trim size like this. You could read this in 1-2 sittings. There's not a lot of character development for the cattle farmers, the cattle herders on the Chisholm Trail, but there is some development for some of the townsfolk of Duncan. Not a ton. And it's in those chapters you kind of get some breathing room. Otherwise, the insatiable hunger of the Wendigo is going to cause absolute hell. The titular Hunger on the Chisholm Trail. The novel starts a couple of years prior, when a poor Native American lad is finding himself on the wrong end of a rope. He is getting lynched. And, well, the lynching doesn't go great for the lynchers. They stumble upon the Wendigo, or he stumbles upon them and absolutely slaughters them. But lets the Native American go to, just taunt him. There is some explanation and a little backstory in terms of the Wendigo, but not much. Then takes up 3 years later, and the chapters kind of alternate between being on the Chisholm Trail and then the chapters in Duncan, as the reign of terror of this Wendigo just goes full force. There is gore abundant. There is action abundant. The Wendigo, he's a violent creature, as one would expect. This isn't necessarily your Pet Cemetery Wendigo or your Antlers Wendigo. This is kind of its own interpretation on it, with this big old gray skin and this big old gray smile. I couldn't tell throughout the novel if the Wendigo was an intelligent creature. It is kind of revealed later on that, yeah, he does have a level of intelligence to him. All the words... Now, the Wendigo does speak in kind of drawn-out words. Let me give you an example here. As my dog barks. Nope, that's the Native American. Please don't. It screamed. Not a good example. Anyways, the Wendigo does speak, but all of the words it uses are words that it's repeating from other people. So I wasn't sure if the Wendigo was an intelligent creature. But, yeah, I mean, it is shown to have intelligence later on. It does have I don't say a method to its madness, but it does have intelligence. Yeah, like, please don't. That was a phrase used earlier in the intro, actually. So anyways, There isn't much detail into the background of the Wendigo. The final chapters do very briefly mention who the Wendigo was, but you're not going to have any like in-depth discussions about that. It's very quick and passing. I mean, it's under 200 pages. There's no time for this in-depth stuff. And I guess that's one of the biggest issues with the final scenes, the climax of it, is that everything in this novel happens very quickly, including the climax. It's still a violent and action-packed climax, but then it kind of ends abruptly. And you're like, oh, I guess it's done now, which is a little disappointing. But it was definitely worth the read. It was very, very good read. And like I said, it's the first one I've read in the Splatter Western series. So let's go into the production details. As I said, this is from Death's Head Press. I think there's like 18 titles in the Splatter Western series. Not all of them have gotten the Thunderstorm Books treatment. All of them do feature artwork by, was it Jeff T. Koons? Justin T. Koons. I got the T. Koons right. They all feature artwork by Justin T. Koons. They are not they're not sequels to each other. So you can read number 2 first without having read the first one. I only have a couple of these in physical copies. So I don't have number 1. This is the earliest one I have. There is a character in this who's searching for the town of Dust, and I do know that the third title is called Dust, so I imagine there's a little crossover there. But that character is just like a passing cameo in this, setting up that other novel. I mean, it's decent, solid hardcover, nothing too crazy there. It doesn't have the name on the spine or anything, which is kind of funny. So normally, Thunderstorm Books have the name on the hardcover and the spine, but not on the spine of the dust jacket. This has it on the spine of the dust jacket, but not on the hardcover itself. The end papers aren't as nice. They're as pretty looking as a normal Thunderstorm end paper, but it's not as nice. Doesn't feel as fancy as the other ones. It does feature the cover art without any text there. And then, of course, it does feature the signature by the author itself, Michael Ennenbach, M Ennenbach, who's right there in the image. This was limited to 52 copies. I got letter BK, which I think might be Brian Keane's copy. Brian Keane works closely with, or at least he did work closely with Thunderstorm Books. I don't know if they're still publishing a bunch of Keane titles through them. But I know that the personal copies, the author copies, are their initials. So I might have Brian Keane's copy, which I think is pretty cool. Or I have the Burger King's copy. No idea. But anyways, it was a fun read. If you're up for a little splatter Western, more heavily on the splatter than the Western in setting alone, splatter being in content, then yeah, Hunger on the Chisholm Trail by M Ennenbach is definitely for you. I'm definitely going to read more of these splatter Westerns, so it was nice to get a good little taste here. I believe this is actually the first novel of M Ennenbach, although he did just publish an actual novel and called that his first novel, because this was 52 copies. Well, 52 hardcover copies. I imagine the paperback is probably just considered a novella, perhaps. But anyways, hardcover is sold out, but the paperback is still available online. You could probably go to Death's Head Press to get copies of that if you want a paperback copy. I will be doing some more of these Splatter Western reviews as I read them. I'm scattered throughout my TBR pile. But like I said, I don't have all of them. I just have a couple of them. So please consider liking and subscribing if you want to see more of these book reviews. I'm doing at least one a week. Plenty of unboxing videos in between here and there as well. So thank you very much for watching, and we will see you around next time.